You're most welcome to this newscast. A pleasure to have your company. My name is Sandrah Kahunde, welcoming you for a weekly news roundup at this day, the 12th of February 2023. Now, starting off with activities that you could have missed out during the entire week. President Museveni this week reiterated the only way of achieving a prosperity for Uganda is through ensuring socio-economic transformation for all, while delivering a lecture of opportunity at the closure of the journalists' 5-day residential symposium on socio-economic transformation at Chambogo University grounds. The president said the message of the NRM since 1986 has been to ensure that Uganda becomes a new society based on science, knowledge and technology through socio-economic transformation. President Museveni told journalists that it is only through free education for all, getting all the families involved in the money economy, wealth creation, social infrastructure development, and ensuring peace and security that socio-economic transformation and eventually prosperity can be achieved.
Your Excellency, sir, given that you're here with us, we would like to present to you our 2 requests that we believe can enable journalists enhance their welfare, boost their morale, to enable them disseminate developmental messages on various government platforms. And I start with 1. Financial capital. Your Excellency, we want to report to you, as highlighted in the first phrase, that while journalists are able and are willing to support all government programs, we are optimistic that journalists, if they get a financial support venture to boost their financial status, many of the mistakes and compromise on professional ethics will be history. Journalists, that if you can introduce a program that intends to give them financial empowerment, specifically for journalists, Your Excellency, we will be affected or destroyed by false information or reporting. I invite fellow youth who are journalists to fight that cancer of corruption, false reporting, so that we take our country to greater heights.
And you are able to do your work as journalists. The clan anthem, they call it Rubara. These ones here call it Mubara, the clan anthem, if you like. But they don't know. You just go to these universities, you get a PhD in neocolonialism, talking rubbish about things. You don't do actual research among your people. So, our position is 3 points. Point number 1, public affairs. Even you journalists, don't involve yourself in public matters if you don't know. Public affairs are 1, to see how to create prosperity for the people, for all the people. Secondly, to create strategic security so that people live in peace and can develop. But thirdly, knowing that Africa is either of similar people or linked, people are linked, like we have seen. Either they are the same, same, similar, all linked, like this one here, where the Kunyara produces a Nyara. But the universities have never discovered the linkages. They have never discovered the linkages. So this is the line of the NRM. That's why we rejected and we treat with contempt all this business of these other groups. And that's the problem of Africa, where there's no prosperity now. Part of the problem. Okora echida kyonka, working only for the stomach. Teach may each keken, as they say in Luo. And therefore, the NRM message, advice to you people, is that in addition to education for all, we must get all the families to be involved in a money economy, but with ekibaro, chura. Because if you don't work for money,
in other updates from state, President Museveni this week among those that were honored with medals at the Tarehe Sita celebrations. Museveni, who was the chief celebrant at the main event in Mbarara, was awarded the Katonga Medal by the Chief Justice of Uganda, Alphonse Owiny-Dollo. The message of the day centered on security, peace, political and socio-economic transformation, as well as Pan-Africanism.
And here comes Tarehe Sita Day, the 42nd of its kind. Officers and men in uniform, clearly indicating that there was training that came with rehearsals. And now, ready to honor the day with this performance. It is a performance that followed arrival and settlement of dignitaries, including the head of state. Museveni was treated to a warm reception as exhibited by the security forces. The icing on the cake came with a medal in Museveni's honor, alongside other recipients for their exceptional service. He was decorated by the Chief Justice of Uganda, Alphonse Owiny-Dollo. All this took place at Kacheka Stadium in Mbarara North constituency of Mbarara City, where President Museveni was the chief guest.
It has been drawn to my attention that through slip of tongue, I mentioned that you were born in 1984. That's wrong. You were born in 1944.
The role of the UPDF in development activities, including construction, was acknowledged.
With Your Excellency's astute leadership, we have been able to do a lot in terms of capacity building, capability enhancement, infrastructure development, welfare improvement, and medical, in order to build a professional, effective, efficient, and motivated force the UPDF is right now.
Such commitment to development was emphasized by the Minister for Defense and Veteran Affairs, Vincent Sempija.
Your Excellency, we are here to, just as a repeat, to recognize the sacrifice of the founders of the People's Revolution that has ushered in the socio-economic transformation in this country.
On his part, President Museveni's message centered on peace, security and economic transformation.
Why such growth in such a short time? It was on account of the following reasons. Number one, people being desperately fed up with the brutality and non-accountability of the old armies, the colonial army, Uganda army, and the other one, UNLA. So you, UPDF, must be very careful. You must never adopt the habits of these old armies. Brutality, corruption. If you do that, the people will hate you.
Museveni emphasized the need for Ugandans to embrace development programs for improved livelihood.
Aim number one must be to make everybody go into money economy. And the sectors for money economy are commercial agriculture with the kibaro, with the calculation. Don't just bump into things which you have not analyzed. Or in industry, or services, or ICT.
Museveni seized the opportunity to explain how Tarehe Sita Day came about.
Attacked the huge garrison of the Kabamba Military Training School with the aim of regaining some of the 9,000 rifles Fronasa had handed to the joint force created after the defeat of Idi Amin. This united force had been given the designation of the UNLA. That was the army which we created after the defeat of Idi Amin.
To other leaders, it is a day worth celebrating.
Reminds Ugandans that they have a national army that is in place, strong enough to protect them in case of any insecurity threat, and that they should not fear, and that these are their own children whom they have built and they produced here in Uganda, and they have built experience over time.
Once again, you are welcome to Kacheka Stadium
to wage a liberation war.
We are marking
which took 5 years
anniversary
and ushered in the NRM regime,
of the People's Army,
which, in my view, has caused a fundamental change. The president promised when he was being sworn in,
and have been short waving,
and therefore there is reason for us to celebrate.
Unlike Europe, in Europe they teach their children about their history, about where they came from, so they know. In Uganda, unfortunately, I think we don't do that enough. So today is significant. It's a day of remembrance to remember those that gave their lives. And
the 42nd Tarehe Sita Day has been observed under the theme, recognizing the sacrifice of the founders of the People's Revolution for socio-economic transformation. Henry Okrut, UBC, Mbarara.
In other updates coming through, Parliament this week confiscated 2 mobile phones belonging to the former Managing Director of NSSF, Richard Byarugaba, and Stephen Mwanje, the Chief Financial Officer, to aid in investigations into the misuse of workers' funds. The phones were handed over to Criminal Investigations Department to process investigations. Well, this follows a missing exchange of WhatsApp messages by the 2 parties regarding the 1.8 billion Uganda shillings, which was misused in disguise of corporate social responsibility. Details in this report.
Anyone following up the ongoing investigations into the NSSF saga by a select committee of Parliament will notice that all that glitters is indeed not gold.
And the evidence I shall give touching the matter.
This applies as the amount of money getting lost at the fund could soon outcompete the sum of funds saved by workers.
We invested 2.3 billion in constructions related to a golf course, I think in Arua, and we lost that money.
To the extent that we've not given up, I would argue that efforts are still being made to ensure that that money is recovered.
Is it accruing interest? Because it should be for the saver to benefit.
Day by day, the respondents representing NSSF continue to apply delay tactics to avoid inevitable judgments as the books do not balance.
We spent over 2.6 billion on this smart card. A team, a verification team traveled to India to validate the functionality. This is very key. The functionality, and you came back and gave a report of its functionality that led to the procurement of this card.
The functionality of the card is a technical question which requires to be answered by an IT person. And I'm sure my friend Benon.
Yours, we're talking about the one you have, the one you left home the other day.
Yes.
What was on this card?
It was a card with a print, I think, of the pension towers picture on it. And its purpose was to assist me, just in case I wanted to know my balances, I can go to the machine and get it.
On Thursday this week, the NSSF board pinned former Managing Director Richard Byarugaba behind the framework for the 1.8 billion funds for corporate social responsibility, which later turned out to be a cash bonanza benefiting top management of NSSF, including board members, Minister for Gender, and the two trade unions of NOTU and COF2 respectively.
I was with Dr. Silva Mujishari discussing the other things. Then Byarugaba himself came with a phone and opened and scored it that in the budget we shall have this one for you.
Former MD Byarugaba threw the ball to the Chief Financial Officer Stephen Mwanje, who he alleges sent him the breakdown of the budget through a WhatsApp message.
It's here. Share with the chairperson.
Byarugaba showed the committee the message, although Mwanje denied having knowledge of the matter.
Director Finance, don't delete any chat, please.
CID, can you kindly retrieve that phone?
Don't.
Are you called Stevens? On 4th of May 2022 at 12:10 p.m. You sent this slide to this mobile phone.
Sir Chairman, I have no recollection at all.
So,
This forced the committee to confiscate the two phones and handed them to CID Department of Parliament to follow up.
You have another mobile phone here? Yes. Where is the mobile phone?
No, everything is here.
This is the only phone?
Yes, everything. I have another.
Where is the second mobile phone?
The second line is in here.
Can you go to the second WhatsApp?
Despite reliable reports that NSSF is on course to achieve its strategic target of growing assets base to 20 trillion shillings by 2025, concerns have been raised regarding irregularities likely to affect its image, thus calling upon Parliament to be considerate.
We have learned clearly, without even waiting for your findings, there are issues that we've identified where clearly we've got to go back to the drawing board and change course, but the brand is suffering. And at the end of the day, if we are looking at the interest of the member, the earlier we restore that confidence in the fund, the better.
And it just feels sad that my name continues to be tarnished by my former boss, sorry. So I can only appeal to you maybe to do something about it. I don't know what powers the committee has.
As Parliament concludes the investigations this Friday, the respondent's body language describes sigh of relief. Daniel Mugoya, Gloria Gwitabinji, UBC News.
You're still watching the weekly news roundup. Now, the Church of Uganda this week vowed never to bless same-sex marriages after the Anglican Church of England outrightly decided to recognize the same as a human right. While addressing journalists at his residence, that is Namirembe Hill, the Archbishop of Uganda, Dr. Stephen Samuel Kazemba Mugalo, meant no words, describing the Church of England's decision as unbiblical, thus ungodly, that has no room in a Christian community.
An important background. The suicidal path the Church of England has now taken began in the Anglican Communion in 2003 when the Episcopal Church in America consecrated a gay man as a bishop. As the Church of Uganda, we broke the fellowship with them at that time. And we have maintained that they are the ones who have left the Anglican faith and therefore the Anglican Communion. In 2008, when the Archbishop of Canterbury refused to discipline the American Episcopal Church for their action, archbishops from Bible-believing Anglican provinces around the world organized the first GAFCON conference to bring us together under the lordship of Christ and the authority of the Bible. GAFCON has always said, we are not leaving the Anglican Communion. We are the Anglican Communion. Likewise, the Global South Fellowship of Anglicans has said the same thing. We are not leaving the Anglican Communion. We are the Anglican Communion. There is no way we are working together. The Church of England, together with the Episcopal Church in America, the Anglican Church of Canada, the Church in Wales, the Scottish Episcopal Church, the Episcopal Anglican Church of Brazil, and others. These are the provinces that have walked away, but we pray for them to repent. And if they refuse to repent, then we call on them to have the integrity to form their own Canterbury Communion, because what they believe is not Anglicanism, and it's not the faith once delivered to the saints. If they want to take their whole church into the belly of a whale, they are free to do that. We are, after all, autonomous Anglican provinces. We think it's a bad idea, but they are free to do it. But they are not free to drag the whole Anglican Communion with them.
Good to know you're still watching. Uganda National Examination Board this week released the 2022 Senior 4 examination results with male students performing better than the female students. The candidates performed better, with failure rate dropping by 1.0% and compared to the previous examination diet. The Minister for Education and Sports, General Museveni, officiated the release of the examination at an event held at State House in Nakasero.
Are the results. I thank you, and God bless you all.
Uganda National Examinations Board has released the 2022 Certificate of Education examination results with a percentage point improvement. 345,695 candidates sat for the UCE examinations in 2022 compared to 333,396 who sat in 2020, hence registering an increase in candidature of 4.8%. The Minister for Education and Sports, Janet Museveni, has instructed the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education and Sports, Katie Lamaro, to conduct a study that will help the ministry authoritatively inform the nation on the gap in favor of males as per the results.
Therefore, must be concerned that over 30,000 girls do not transition to complete the next level after PLE. Consequently, we at the Ministry of Education and Sports consider this a matter of great concern, and we find it necessary to provide an explanation to the nation regarding this challenge that affects the education and development of the girl child.
The results indicate that English language improved at credit and overall pass level, but declined at the distinction level. Performance of physics and chemistry has improved, although the overall pass rate has slightly declined, and 40% of candidates have not passed the two subjects. The Minister for Education and Sports, Janet Museveni, said the poor performance in biology is being addressed through curriculum review.
These reviews aim at, among other things, doing away with obsolete information, reducing subject content overload, and contact hours in the classroom, so as to create time for research, talent development, and creativity, among other things. This, we hope, will help improve the learners' performance.
The Executive Director, Uganda National Examinations Board, Dan Odong, said learners in some schools still cram passages, use SMS language in examinations, and have poor mathematical skills, which affected their performance.
Being encouraged by the teachers, where a candidate doing an experiment takes the first reading, and if they are supposed to take 6 readings, the next 5 readings simply vary by a fixed value from the first one. And then they end up with these forged figures in their experimental results. And you may find that candidates, a large number of candidates in an examination class have reproduced exactly the same readings, which obviously is not possible where candidates are working independently.
Meanwhile, UNEB has withheld examination results for 1,035 candidates over suspected examination malpractice that includes external assistance, collusion, impersonation, and script substitution. The Ministry of Education and Sports has reiterated that it will not tolerate examination malpractices, and UNEB will not hesitate to suspend or even cancel the affected examination centres. I'm Nafka Farida and Philip Aguta in Kampala.
The Deputy Commander of Special Forces Commander, Brigadier General Charity Abainababo, this week congratulated pupils in the SFC Army Primary Schools who sat for their primary leaving examinations last year for the excellent performance. Brigadier General Abainababo lauded the schools at a function organized by the SFC leadership at the SFC headquarters in Entebbe.
Marine-based primary school with you preparing.
Brigadier General Bainababo said SFC Army Primary School's performance was worth celebrating because the teachers and pupils proved hard work pays.
To you learners or students, as you prefer to be called from now onwards, congratulations. Hard work pays, and here we are celebrating your hard work.
She asked the learners to remain focused, being the only remedy to success. Brigadier General Bainababo also advised pupils to stay away from evil behaviors associated with drug abuse.
If I decided to ask each student, you have a dream, but that dream can be crushed in a blink if you lose your focus. If you go for drugs, because it's the in thing now. It's cool to take drugs. As they say, it is not cool. It will crush your dreams.
The SFC Director of Civil Military Cooperation, Colonel Gilbert Owamagezi, under whose docket schools fall, said SFC has unwavering support towards the country's education sector.
I thank you for this effort in trying to understand the message of the strategic leadership, socio-economic transformation. You can only take advantage of the democratic dividend when you educate society.
The inspector of SFC Army Schools, Major Emmanuel Tukahewa, said SFC Army Schools have embarked on revamping the lost glory by heightening academic performance through deployment of competent school teachers, dialoguing and engaging with Kampala Capital City Authority to fill teachers' gaps in Army schools.
I thank the chieftains of education and sports for availing us with teachers whenever there is need, timely. Also, KCCA, the Director of Education KCCA, and Principal Education Officer in Tarehe Municipal Council, they have been cooperative whenever there is need for us to equip us with more teachers or on any facilities.
Weekly news roundup are still taking through some of the stories you could have missed out. Police have rescued 59 victims from the ADF cell in Butaleja district. The police spokesman, Fred Enanga, has confirmed the arrest of 9 ADF suspects during this intelligence-led operation where several guns were recovered.
Rescued victims, including juveniles who were recruited into terrorism activities from different regions of the country, promising them scholarships and jobs abroad.
So we managed to raid this space, which was acting as a domain for recruitment. It was also a collection center for children who are introduced to ideological messages and beliefs.
Police have embarked on the process of reuniting victims to their families with the intent of investigating families' connection to ADF.
Because we believe some of them could be recruiting agents as well. And like for instance, there was a 15-year-old victim. Her parents didn't tell her where they were taking her. And they drove her all the way from, they transported her all the way from Barara up to that place in Butaleja, and they dumped her there.
In this intelligence-led operation, 2 female suspects were arrested and are connected to the recent attack on the Busika police post.
The 2 females are wives to the 4 suspects whom we charged to court, Katende and his group, who attacked Busika and killed 2 police officers, robbed 2 guns. So these are the wives. They had now joined that ADF cell in Butaleja.
In other operations, police recovered 10 guns out of the 12 guns that were stolen during the recent wave of police post attacks. These have been recovered mainly from the ADF suspects and from the suspected rebels of the Uganda Coalition Forces of Change.
Of the 12 guns, we've so far recovered 10 guns. We recovered 1 gun in Wakiso. We recovered the 2 guns which were robbed after 2 police officers were killed in Busunju. Now, most of these guns were recovered amongst the ADF suspects who were arrested.
In Arua district, police arrested Sabil Sludge, who has made it a habit to extort money from parents, especially during the period of opening the education period, promising them scholarships. During the operation, 22 pupils were rescued.
Has been a habitual child trafficker and fraudster, and this has been the 3rd occasion that he has been defrauding very innocent parents and victimizing pupils and students in the West Nile districts of Arua, Maracha and Nebi. He has been actively involved in fleecing parents of their hard-earned incomes under the guise of securing scholarships and sponsorships for them in some of the schools within Kampala and Wakiso.
The same man was arrested in the previous 2 years over the same charges, while in Maracha district, though was granted a court bail. Parents are advised to be vigilant during this hard economic situation over empty promises. Abdul Nasir Lubama and Mario Nawori for UBC.
Renowned British sports commentator Rob Walker this week visited the Tayat Sports Centre in Kapchorwa district. The high-altitude sports centre located on the slopes of Mount Elgon will provide local and international athletes with a conducive environment for training for local, regional and international athletics competitions.
Renowned British sports commentator Rob Walker has been accorded a VIP treatment by the head of state, President Museveni, who offered him a helicopter to take him to Kapchorwa district. Walker is admired in Uganda, especially by the sports and tourism fraternity, for his personal diplomatic role he has played for the country in various competitions.
And when you get to the last 200 meters, when your legs are burning and you're desperate to stop, think of that flag and think of all the people who'll be watching, cheering you back. Try and find that extra 2 meters, because it might make a difference between a team bronze or finishing fourth in a team competition.
In the trip to the land of long-distance champions, the veteran journalist was accompanied by top officials from the National Council of Sports, the State Minister for Sports Peter Ogwang, and Lilia Jarova, the Chief Executive Officer, Uganda Tourism Board.
We must win as a team. So as you go to Australia, I want to commit on behalf of government. We are going to facilitate each and every one of you to go to Australia as government of Uganda.
People out there talk about they want to come to Africa to see the big five. Yeah. So when they talk about the lions, the elephants, the leopards, those are the big five. Tell them in Uganda we have the mighty 7, not just the big 5. And the extra 2 includes the chimpanzees and the mountain gorillas.
The delegation interacted with the local leaders and athletes and Jacob Kiplimo, who are in camp in preparation for the World Athletics Championships in Australia next week. Team Uganda lauded Walker for his solid support to the athletes and the country as a whole.
We want to thank you so much for coming, and to Mr. Rob, I wish you a nice day in Kapchara. Kapchara, if you translate, this is called the home of friends.
To be a good sportsman demands a lot of discipline. To your first, from your timing, can you wake up in time and train? Even when you feel that the muscles are aching and saying don't, to have the discipline to wake up. To have the discipline to eat the right food they told you. To have the discipline to eat that food at the right time. To have the discipline to take the rest that they told you to take. They have the discipline to not train when the physio tells you rest a bit.
Walker's next destination after Tarehe Sports Center is the Murchison Falls National Park for safari and sport fishing.
So we are very amazed by his coming. The Sabenyes are so happy.
Dennis Igoa for UBC News in Kapchoro.
Moving on, the world woke up early this week on the devastating news of an earthquake that struck Turkey and Syria, leaving over 20,000 people dead and several injured. Earthquakes are natural disasters and can happen anywhere in the world, and Uganda is not an exception given the fact that it is located in the East African Rift Valley.
From the Turkey and Syria earthquake that has led to loss of thousands of lives and destruction of property, we examine one of the proactive earthquake risk reductions, and that is infrastructure. Uganda remains systemically vulnerable to earthquakes given its location in the East African Rift Valley. Although Uganda has experienced several earthquakes, the most recent one is the 2016 earthquake that measured a magnitude of 5.7, and this needs to serve as a timely reminder that there is real need for proactive earthquake preparedness. The first thing to look at is the strength of our building infrastructure, and according to professional engineers, having earthquake-resistant buildings is key.
Resistance to an earthquake, you can say high-rise buildings are more prone, and the design engineers will always take this into consideration. The buildings which are very weak in Kampala, you see, they have not even had to wait for an earthquake.
Government of Uganda has put in place laws to ensure that all buildings are safe, and one of the legislations is the Building Control Act of 2013. However, adherence to procedures and standards is still a big challenge, and a number of buildings have collapsed even before completion.
But in Uganda, as you can see, the whole aspect of having a regulator for the building industry shows that the government also takes the issue of strong construction. It's also a political priority. So there is an enabling law, there is a regulation, but some of the bad things which normally happen, which the regulator and other players have been trying to get on top of, is again looking ahead. Yeah? So that when you have a design, if it's a design for Kampala, before it is approved, the design engineer, the structural engineer must take into consideration how has case of, say, extreme cases like earthquakes been taken care of. So you put a margin of safety, a factor of safety.
But in some cases, we have also had to, unfortunately, tell builders to pull down structures at certain levels and say, this cannot proceed beyond here unless you break down to this extent and rebuild according to this. Now,
one of the procedures of ensuring a strong building is soil investigation that then informs the type of foundation.
Soil is generally very different. You can see that this one is also different from this one and different from this one. All this type of soil is different in nature and they affect differently the structures.
To this effect, there are both government and private material testing laboratories.
Different soils have different challenges. They can be expansive soils, whereby we design for a different foundation. They can be collapsible soils. How do we design for those collapsible soils? All this can be informed as a result of carrying out geotechnical investigations. We have quite a number of problematic soils that require specific designs or specialized skills and calculations to solve the problems that may arise out.
Testing construction materials is also important.
This concrete block, concrete cube, we test it here. After testing here, it will give us the class of strength that is being currently used on a building. So people putting up structures, arcades, high-rise buildings, it is very important to know the quality of the concrete and the strength class of concrete so as to avoid the failure of the structure.
The supervision of buildings in Kampala is done by Kampala Capital City Authority, while in other local authorities, the head of engineering takes up the task. It is therefore prudent for responsible supervisory authorities to ensure that developers adhere to the required construction procedures and standards are followed for the safety of the people. I'm Nafka Farida and Adiana Kuti in Kampala.
Now moving on, Operation Shujaa and Mountain Division Commander Major General Dick Olum this week said the UPDF is committed to stabilizing the Rwenzori sub-region and eastern part of Democratic Republic of Congo. During his interaction with Wananchi, General Olum emphasized safeguarding civilians and dismantling allied defense forces.
Who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, recently appointed Major General Dick Olum as the new commander, Mountain Division based in Rwenzori and Operation Shujaa in eastern Congo. Olum was tasked to subdue and defeat the allied democratic force in Democratic Republic of Congo.
Very privileged to come and work and take over from this gentleman in the names of Lieutenant General Kayanja, and secondly, being blessed by
with the experience of having served in Somalia, Central African Republic, and previously served as the defense attaché at the Uganda Embassy in DR Congo, Major General Dick Olum was arguably the right commander for the joint Operation Shujaa.
The presence of the UPDF has sorted out a lot of situations, a lot of security situations. People are now traveling from Butembo to Kasindi freely and easily. This is just 60 kilometers, which was a hell on earth.
Olum assigned operation orders to all sector commanders and changed the operational style jointly with Congolese FARDC army.
We got all the weapons they crossed with. So many of them that are captured are with us, and we got to know more about their intentions. It is all about the pressure that is down here in Congo, the pressure specifically about the ADF being followed every now and then in all the sectors of our operations, in the areas of Kalembo, in the areas of Zunguluka, everywhere, going back to those areas of Mukakati. So the pressure is so high on them.
The other orders include, among others, to stop ADF logistics supply, direct engagement with ADF small groups, and forcing them to surrender.
The fact that we are called the UPDF, it means it is our responsibility to ensure the peace and security of the people of Uganda. And now we are in Congo, operating with the Congolese military. We tend to transfer all these attributes of the UPDF into the people of Congo through the joint operation with the militaries of Congo.
ADF's ideology has historically contained some jihadist elements with intention of recruiting mainly children in their ranks. During the battles in Kalembo, Mwalika, Chabi, and Tokomeka, many ADF rebels were demoralized, others killed, some captured or forced to surrender, and young children rescued. ADF recruits along ethnic lines and is deeply entrenched in the broader political areas of Rwenzori sub-region between Uganda and Democratic Republic of Congo. Before the joint military operations, ADF used to carry out numerous attacks against civilians, which has reduced due to UPDF's stamina. In Sector 2, Burasi-Kainama axis, 90% of Congolese have returned to their formerly abandoned homes, which is a sign of total peace. Haruna Mutesasira, UBC News.
Now, when I return for business, we shall be getting to know how the issues in regards to the environmental issues will be addressed. That is in the Alberta and Graben region, right here in our country, Uganda. After these messages.
Sent transport to the wrong person. Here's how to reverse it with MTN Mobile Money. Dial *165#. Select My Account. Select Initiate Reversal. You will see your last 3 transactions. Select the transaction you want to reverse. Enter your mobile money PIN and you'll get an SMS confirmation that the transaction has been blocked from being withdrawn. And that's it. Please note, only transactions that haven't been withdrawn can be reversed.
This isn't just a girl. She is the future. This is a teacher, a doctor, a community leader, our future president.
This is our family's pride.
This is my friend.
This is the future of our nation.
She is the future of Uganda, and the policies I enact today will protect her from teenage pregnancy.
She is the hope of our community, and I will talk to others about how we must protect her.
She is our family's pride, and I will protect her from child marriage and talk to her about the dangers of teenage pregnancy. We each have a role to play in empowering our teenage girls to protect them from child marriage and pregnancy, because when we empower them, we empower our nation. Protect the girl, save the nation.
Their support meant so much to me. I stayed focused and was protected from child marriage and teenage pregnancy. I will support other girls against child marriage and teenage pregnancy.
Take action. Report any case of defilement or child marriage to the police or call Sawuti 116.
Get the most affordable 4G smartphone in Uganda from Airtel. Now heavily discounted from 250,000 shillings to 150,000 shillings only. Yes, 150,000 shillings only to keep you connected to your loved ones.
Dial *175*94# to activate free 1GB instantly and 100% double data on all weekly and monthly bundles for 3 months. Get one today while stock lasts from the nearest Airtel shop. With Airtel, the smartphone network.
It's true what people say, that when I wash and you wash your hands with soap, we'll have less infections as Ugandans. After all, it's hands that handle money. It's hands that feed us. Hands that prepare soil for farming. hands that we use to learn, and hands that we use for fun.
When I wash and you wash hands with soap, it means clean hands for all. This is a message from the National Hand Washing Secretariat.
Okay, so these receipts, okay, plus this one equals
Keeping up with your transaction history the old way.
1,000. Okay, I got this. I don't. Okay, maybe if I can just.
Keeping up with your transaction history with the My Airtel app. You have the power in your pocket. The power to keep an eye on your transaction history. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
Welcome back. Pleasure to have your company. You're still watching the weekly news roundup. I'm bringing you some of our top stories and highlights of the week. Now, getting into our business updates, the Chief Executive Officer of Net Worth Consult Limited, Edwin Musahura, this week emphasized the need to integrate environment and wildlife conservation issues with social issues in the Alberta and Graben region. He was reacting to some concerns raised during Wildlife and Environment Conference at Makerere University this week regarding environmental issues in the Albertine region.
Mid this week, stakeholders in wildlife and environment conservation convened at Makerere University under the theme Partnerships for Wildlife Conservation. The Executive Director NEMA, Dr. Kankwansa Barirega, urged the companies operating in the oil Albertine region to adhere to the set environmental guidelines in the production phase.
Frequency is going to be much more intensive than the exploration phase, but adequate environment and social safeguards have been put in place, and if the oil companies strictly adhere to the mitigation measures identified, we shouldn't see a problem.
Some participants from the Uganda Wildlife Conservation Society called upon the civil society organizations to join hands with government and the private sector to safeguard the environment in the region.
We need to ensure that as CSOs, we work with CSOs to focus on certain areas. For example, the Albertine Graben region. It is a serious area. There's oil and gas which is being extracted in today's.
Meanwhile, Edwin Muzaula, the Chief Executive Officer of Net Worth Consult Limited, working with Total Energy's social component in the region, says that companies are already complying.
There are also efforts to ensure that even with the pipeline and the entire Albertine Rift, the environment, the afforestation institutions like NEMA and other institutions are working hard with other organizations to make sure that indeed the environment is not destabilized. Environmental assessments and plans are presented for approval to ensure that the ecosystem is not affected.
However, Muzaula says a social component should also be given due importance alongside the environment conservation component.
Now, quite often we focus more on the environment and the visible issues and forget the social and soft issues, and that's where we come in to ensure that the people who have been resettled, the project affected persons, their issues are taken care of, compensation issues are catered for. As you know, when resources come into an area, there's a lot of money in that region now. There are a lot of dynamics happen, safety, gender issues, gender violence issues come up, traffic issues for vehicles and schools, school children and other issues.
Report compiled by Bayola Moses and Collins Juko for UBC.
Still talking business, the Minister of State for Bunyoro Affairs, Jennifer Namuyango, this week appealed to the business community in the Albertine Graben region to take advantage of financial resources under Uganda Development Bank to develop the region. She was at a Bwendero Dairy Farm in Hoima, where the bank announced excellent results for the past year, reflecting strong investment in various businesses across the country.
Uganda Development Bank, the country's national development financial institution, held its annual press briefing at Wendero Dairy Farm in Hoima district with the aim of supporting business investments across the country, improve livelihoods towards economic recovery and resilience of Uganda. At the event, the managing director of Wendero Dairy Farm, John Magara, said their partnership with the Uganda Development Bank has not only improved their production but also positively impacted on the community.
Well, we have a nursery producing seedlings of which we might not consume all, and we'll sell the rest to other interested farmers. We see ourselves going into processing of the same avocado as a value addition with the help and support again of Uganda Development Bank.
The Minister of State for Rural Affairs, Jennifer Namuyangu, who was the chief guest, appreciated Uganda Development Bank for its support towards promoting socio-economic development in the country. Namuyangu appealed to the community to take Wendero Dairy Farm as a model farm in Bunyoro sub-region where research can be conducted for development purposes.
Now that the office is coming to Hoima here, UDB office, that is called decentralization. Can we take advantage? Can we also emulate John Magara that when we take this money, we invest it rightly? We invest it, monitor it, and be there for your business.
We rally the business community, we rally Ugandans to approach UDB, explore opportunities at the bank. Let's partner to drive socio-economic transformation in our beloved country.
The Minister of State for Public Service, Grace Mary Mogasa, hailed Uganda Development Bank for supporting small-scale enterprises. Wendero Dairy Farm deals in dairy farming and beverages. The farm has played a significant role in addressing unemployment challenges in the region by offering jobs to the youth. Justin Nakami for UBC News.
Thank you so much for keeping it UBC and following this particular update or conversation from the hour of 1 p.m. Where we feature highlights and some of our top stories you could have missed out during the entire week. My name is Sandrah Kahunde, and greetings from the team behind the scene as far as newsroom is concerned. Is still working around the clock to bring you updates that will be featuring later in our timely news hours of the day. Enjoy your Sunday. God bless you.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
It's super fast internet. Oh, it's a super camera. It's a super battery.
Phone battery full.
Yeah, it's a super deal.